Hello, my fellow Americans. Tonight is a very special episode of Voices of America. Tonight we'll discuss consumerism and the many benefits to society. We often hear words consumerist culture and think of capitalism. Greedy businessmen trying to squeeze every last dollar out of you and controlling your minds through advertisements and commercials. While it is easy to see it this way, consumerism is not capitalism. Capitalism is the idea that markets should be free from all government restrictions and should freely operate so that it shouldn't have a rise and the market can adapt. Consumerism, as we will find out soon, is the incarnation of American beliefs and ideals. Now, when you hear consumerism, you may think wasteful spending and irresponsibility. But before we can do that, we must ask ourselves, what is consumerism? Why is it important to our beloved nation that we partake this in consumerist culture? To discuss, I have a very special guest with us tonight. I'm here with the renowned economist, Professor Michael Bell, to discuss the answers and questions. Professor Bell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Christian. To answer your first question, consumerism is the social and economic order that encourages spending in large amounts. The more you spend, the better society will be. However, the definition of this is often used as a derogatory phrase, as if consumerism is something bad. And while that side of the story is plausible to some, I don't necessarily think it to be true. Consumerism allows for individuality and personal freedom. This means that how much we spend and what we purchase is completely and entirely up to us. So it is not the fault of the corporation or the government if we waste our own money. So while there is a big risk in personal management when it comes to consumerism, it doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing, especially when you consider the fact that we take risks every single day.
What about consumerism itself? Why is this so important to American culture?
Well, an easy story to tell would be that the evil, greedy, Scrooge McDuck-like businessmen are controlling you, subliminally implanting messages via advertisements and utilizing the perfect techniques to compel you to buy a useless household item like, say, the carrot peeler. But while that may or may not be the case, consumerist culture is an important piece of American culture. It is vital to our capitalistic, growth-centered economy. It is this cycle of mindless consumerism that supports and upholds the American dream. This is why the United States has one of the strongest economies in the world. When you allow people to follow their dream jobs, when you allow the individual to be an individual, then you get happier workers, which will increase productivity in the workplace, which increases cash revenue, and which will overall bring up the economy.
Many say consumerism ruins lives, that it decreases quality of life, and it brings more economic downfall rather than build-up. Any thoughts on that?
This cycle of consumerism is exactly why our enemies find it difficult to compete with our living standards. All right, like take the Soviet Union, for example, of like one of the most famous examples of communism going badly. All right, by 1975, life expectancy in the USSR was only 70 years. There were numerous famines during the USSR's 70-year lifespan, and in that 70-year lifespan, not only were there around a dozen famines, hundreds of thousands of people were on the streets in Moscow alone. All right, the United States does not have this problem because of our consumerist culture, because we have a culture that allows us to be free to build up and grow our economy. And then there's the part about job increase, how people are able to keep their jobs. In the Soviet Union, although the government never officially stated or reported that its people were homeless or out of a job, after 1930, the number of people out of work increased. Right? You see, pretty much every problem that Lenin and the Bolshevik Party tried to minimize or what's the word I'm looking for? Every problem that they tried to sort of just get rid of, they ended up making worse. The main reason for that was, like I said, communist nations have no place for the individual. They have no place for the pursuit of happiness. All right, there is no room for personal desires when your fellow countrymen are in need of food, shelter, or a job. Which, surprisingly, while communism is supposed to provide those things, it ended up failing to do so. Because, again, they have no place for individualism. They have no room for the market to adapt. The economy was never allowed to fluctuate depending on what was happening in the Soviet Union. Everything was controlled by the state. Everything was controlled by the government. Communism itself is in direct opposition to human nature. All right, in a communist nation, there is no place for the human emotions of greed, envy. There is no room for what here in America we define as an inalienable right of the pursuit of happiness. You must instead seek out what is best for the collective. After all, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. So there is a limited amount of money circulating because no one is able to spend their money freely, and also because the government regulates how much money they make, and as I mentioned before, how much money they make, what they spend it on. And so because there's a limited amount of money circulating in the economy, the economy is overall weakening, which overall decreases the quality of life and makes things worse for the workers, giving them pretty much no incentive to work, forcing the government to provide for the workers, effectively spending money that the government does not have. But consumerism provides food, shelter, and jobs, as well as personal freedom. In a consumer society, you are free to want, you are free to desire, you are free to pursue your dream. After all, people naturally want. They want the car, they want to fulfill their destiny, whatever that dream job or destiny they feel might be. They naturally want to have stuff. They want to buy things. And so they should be allowed to want. They should be allowed to buy what they want. Under a democratic, free consumer society, this is possible. Under a oppressive communist dictatorship, it is not.
What would you say consumerism overall is a benefit or a detriment to society?
I would say that consumerism overall is beneficial to society based on pretty much everything we just discussed, and the fact that it also encourages businesses to grow and succeed. For example, Coca-Cola. I'd say 50 to 100 people stop drinking Coca-Cola a year. By the next year, that would be 100 to 200 people not purchasing Coca-Cola products. Eventually, the number would grow at a significantly exponential rate, and Coca-Cola's losses would be so severe that they would eventually either go out of business or sell the company. And this would create a significant job loss, not just for Coca-Cola, not just in the United States, but on a global scale. Scenario applies to pretty much every single business. All right, you don't buy the product, the company doesn't make money, the company has to compensate for the losses, which either means a lot of people get fired, or the company is gone, and quite a few people have to get new jobs, or the company is sold, which again would result in quite a few people losing their jobs.
Mindless consumerism. Although it sounds like a horrible, terrible plague, by the end of the day, it's what keeps this nation's economy growing strong. It is what provides jobs to millions of Americans and to thousands of workers across the world. It drives America's pursuit of economic growth. It is a testament to freedom given by this blessing in our Almighty God. Good night, and God bless America.